Hi, I'm Philip from Optimize Lab, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing my Google Ads audit cheat sheet. Now, you might be wondering, why would you need a cheat sheet for auditing Google Ads accounts? Well, this sheet gives every single aspect of an account that I look at when I'm looking for areas where optimizations can be made to save money and where opportunities are in order to make more money within an account. So by doing an audit within a Google Ads account or campaign, you can make a lot more money every single month ongoing, either for your own campaign if you're running your own account, or for your clients' campaigns if you're managing Google Ads campaign for different clients. So I've laid out this sheet with all of the main aspects of an account categorized and all of the tasks within each aspect that should be carried out, all of the different areas you should be looking at. And I've organized it so you can close off these sections once you've ticked them off, once you've completed that task. So this cheat sheet is going to save you a huge amount of time, and it could also save you a huge amount of money or allow you to make a huge amount of money from your Google Ads campaigns or your clients' campaigns every single month. So let's just get started and take a brief look through. I'm going to make this a short video, so I'm not going to delve into, because it could take hours to delve into every minute aspect of this sheet, but I'm going to give a general overview. And what I can do is make some follow-up videos for each of these sections. Now, I should also add there that I have put in some links to videos that I've already created, and I might update these as well. So if you need a bit more information about each section, some of these sections have videos already there, so you can get a bit more information. But let's start just to give you an idea of how you would use this sheet. So first off, we've got historical data here. So I've got an example account on the right-hand side here. And the first thing I do when I'm auditing a Google Ads account or Google Ads campaigns is I'm going to look at the historical data, because you want to get a lay of the land. You want to understand what has happened in this account. Where should I start? What should I be looking at? And so I will look at the all-time date range, which you can access by clicking here and clicking all-time. And what I'm looking for here is changes in performance, inconsistencies. Are there any periods where, for example, there's no conversions, or conversions were a lot more expensive? So I've got conversions selected as a metric here. Now we could change this to cost per conversion. We could change to look at conversion rate. So we can look at different metrics over time and see, was there a big change? If we're looking at this account as an example, we can see there's a period where cost was much higher in the past, and now it's much lower, or significantly lower. Now, why is that? So we're going to look at the context and see, okay, which time period do we want to look at for our audit? Because we want to look at a consistent period. We could even cut that up into two periods. So we look at one period, then we look at a next period. So that's very important when you're doing an audit. And so that's why I've put this at the top of the sheet. And you can tick this off. Now, importantly, if you don't understand the context, because let's say the client doesn't know the context, they don't remember the changes they've made, or maybe they had a previous account manager that they're no longer working with and they don't necessarily speak to them anymore, so they cannot ask you what's changed in the account, what changes have been made. So if that happens, then I've put here change history, access the change history. And if I just move this slightly, you can open that by clicking here. Look at the change history. You can go through, okay, what changes have been made? Why were they made? And you can begin to understand what's been happening in the account. And I always suggest doing this before you begin delving into the other sections. Because if we look at, for example, keyword performance, that performance we're looking at is going to be based on the date range we're looking at. So very, very important, so that you don't end up doing the same work over and over again to get that date range decided upon at the beginning of your audit. So that's why this section is here. Also very important when you're early on in your audit is to look at the conversion tracking. Is the conversion tracking working now? Were there any periods where it wasn't working? Have the conversions that are being tracked in the account changed? Because that's going to impact what you're looking at. Because it may look as though, for example, conversions were much higher in the past. But that could be because their conversion tracking settings were set up incorrectly. So they were tracking too many conversions. And so that means that the data for the recent period is more reliable. But if you didn't understand that, you would think, oh, there's been a dip in performance, when actually the performance may be better. So it's very important to understand all of the conversion data that you're seeing within an account. And that can even be true if you're managing your own account, because you may not be aware of all of the changes that have been carried out within your account by the agency or the staff who have been working within your account. So conversion tracking, of course, can be accessed by opening up tools and settings and going to measurement, and then you can, I'm not going to go into that now, but you can open up the conversions, look at the different areas. You can look at, for example, are the conversions primary or secondary, i.e. are they being tracked in the conversion column, things of that nature. So I can, again, create another video where I go through every single aspect of this sheet, but just to make this shortish video, I'm just going to go through these quickly. Campaign status, that's very useful as a quick initial part of your audit. You want to see which campaigns are struggling. So, for example, if I open up the status here, there are some things which are relevant to this particular account. For this particular campaign, these are status issues which don't actually affect performance. They're just relevant for certain countries. But sometimes you might see, okay, my campaign's limited by budget in this account. So, what kind of adjustments need to be made in order to fix that? Budgets, of course, are very important. So that's why I've got budgets near the top of this audit sheet. Very quickly, you want to ascertain, are campaigns being limited by budget? Because that is something that can really impact the performance of an account and cause a lot of money to be wasted. Because if the budget is being limited, if the campaign's being limited by the budget and the budget's too small, then the ads can stop serving early in the day. They could stop at 10 p.m., 7 p.m. And if that's happening and those ads are not running, then that campaign is missing out on valuable conversions. And effectively, it's spending its money too quickly and spending too much for individual clicks. So that's a big waste of money. And by fixing that, your clients can save a huge amount of money. This is a problem I see in many, many accounts. And so just quickly, that type of thing you can ascertain, is the budget being wasted, by looking at this metric here, search lost top impression share to budget. So you can then go ahead and take a look at this metric for the entire account, or you can look at it for individual campaigns. And generally speaking, just quickly, you want your impression share loss to budget to be no more than 10%. Ideally, you want it to be close to 0%. So, for example, 5% is within a good range, an acceptable range, but you want it to be 0% if possible. If you're using smart bidding strategies, it can be tricky to get it to 0%, but that's generally what you want to see. You want to see it 0%, and you achieve that by adjusting your bid settings and increasing your budget. And I've actually got a video about that in this section here for budgets. So you tick this off as you go and make notes on what you're finding. And so this sheet again helps with that, because you know what to look at within this sheet. Just to mention also, this sheet is for search campaigns only. Most accounts are running search campaigns, so I may also create such a sheet for display campaigns, performance max, etc. But this is a lot to work with just for search. So there's a section on bidding and bid strategies and settings that very, very influential on campaigns. So that's important to look at. That's quite high up in this audit document. Keywords, again, very, very important. So it's very useful to look at which keywords. So you can run a filter and you can look at which keywords are spending the most money. Are those keywords actually performing well? 80-20. So you can look at the top 20% of keywords that are typically bringing in 80% of the revenue or the conversions. And what can you do to improve those keywords? Because generally there's going to be a small number of keywords in an account that are actually bringing in all of the revenue and all of the performance. And then the other 80% or so of keywords are still important, but wouldn't need as much attention. You can run a filter to look at which keywords have a certain amount of spend and yet either haven't generated any conversions or have a low conversion rate or have a high cost per acquisition or have a low return on ad spend. So you can run these filters and very quickly within an account see, oh, this account's wasting a lot of money, set of keywords that aren't bringing in any revenue or hardly any revenue. And you can then make a note of that and suggest that either to the client or within your own company. Look, we should not be spending money on these keywords. They need to be moved into a different campaign with lower bids or just removed completely, or you can add them as negative keywords. So yeah, the keywords tab, very important to look at. Match types is another big thing that I see within accounts. A lot of accounts use too much broad match, and broad match can be very, very useful, but it can also result in a lot of non-relevant search terms being targeted and a lot of wasted ad spend. So making that fix is a very quick fix to make sure that an account is using exact match and phrase match, very quick to make, and you can save a huge amount of money by doing that. Another area that's overlooked is the search term report. So you can very, very quickly open up the search term report. Currently, that is sometimes organized within the Insights and Reports tab. So we can see here search terms. So Google sometimes, and very often actually, changes the layout of Google Ads where you're going to find different reports and different information. So just be aware that that might not be under the keywords section, it might be within the insights section. And if you look at that report, you can very quickly find non-relevant terms. Now, my recommendation is to use this filter. So you set up a filter and you make sure that you're not looking at terms that have already been added or already been excluded, because if they've been added as keywords, you'll review them when you're looking at the keyword data. And if they've been excluded, you don't need to look at them. It's also useful to look at how many conversions have there been. You want to look at things that haven't generated conversions. So I'll look at less than 0.1 conversions, which of course gives you 0 conversion. And then match type, I will look at all of the match types except exact match, because if it's being classed as exact match, then that's a keyword that you are targeting directly. And what that gives you is an output. It gives you a report of all of the search terms which could be non-relevant, and it very quickly gives you all the information you need. And when I'm auditing an account, I'll often take a screenshot of that particular page and say, look, you're wasting a lot of money on these terms that have nothing to do or very little to do with your product or service. So that's something that's very useful to look at. Negative keywords. This is also something that's quite often overlooked within Google Ads campaigns. So I've added that into the section, and a lot of accounts don't use lists. So they just kind of casually add negative keywords here and there. But what they really could benefit from is having a list added. So that's quite often something they miss out on. And then match types. Quite often they'll use just exact match, negative keywords. That's a big mistake, because then you're not blocking a wide spectrum of search terms. You're just blocking one search term, and then therefore you're missing out on an opportunity to block a lot more non-relevant search terms. So that's useful to use. It's of course a massive aspect of the campaign, very important. So these are all the areas that I suggest going through, making sure, of course, that responsive search ads are used. That's the current ad format that should be used within search campaigns. There's an opportunity to always use 2 ads per ad group. Now, that's not essential, but it's an opportunity. Ads should use 15 headlines and should be using 20 to 30 characters. Very, very short headlines typically underperform. So using all of the character account available is a good idea. And again, you want to have 4 descriptions per ad, and you want to be using 80 to 90 characters within each description. And the rationale behind this is that bigger ads get more clicks. That's been something that's very important for advertisers, making sure that they are using as much real estate on the search results page as possible. And you do that by making sure you're using all of the character count available within ads. Another very important aspect of auditing an account is location targeting, because quite often this is something that's overlooked. When a campaign or account has been set up, they set the locations and then they don't revisit this. They don't look at the location targeting report to ensure that the right people are being reached. There's a very important setting within settings to ensure that the targeting is based on the user's location rather than the location that they're searching for, which means those people may not be in the country or the city or the territory that you're targeting. So that's very, very important. And it can be very useful to segment the data. So for example, if you are targeting customers in the United States, rather than just put the US as your targeted location, you can split that by state. And then that can enable you to very easily see, okay, well, a lot of our customers are coming from this state. And then you can adjust the bids within your location targeting to focus on that location. You can also adjust the bids so that the lower performing states, you are not bidding as much for those, and that can save you money. And that enables you to continue to get customers from those locations without removing them from your targeting completely. Device targeting, that's very important to look at. You might find that certain devices are not performing well. You might find that desktop is performing extremely well, then mobile and tablet aren't doing very good. And that could tell you that perhaps your customers prefer desktop and you want to find that out. Or it could be that actually the website does not perform well on those devices, in which case your website needs to be improved. Maybe it needs to be more responsive or fast loading for mobile. And then you can adjust bids based on the device targeting. But it's important, and I've noted that here, to be aware that, if you switch off a device, although the data may not indicate that they're purchasing through that device, they may be discovering your product through mobile and then purchasing on desktop. So it's very important to look at the attribution and find out, is there a possibility that somebody's discovering my product on mobile or tablet and then later on purchasing? Because if you switch off or decrease mobile and tablet, that may impact your overall sales through desktop. So that's important to notice, to keep in consideration. Next, age demographics. It's very important to look at the performance of the different age groups. Then how do they compare with the persona of your customer? And then the same with gender demographics. It's important to look at schedule. There's a section here for quality score. Network, again, very important. So if there are any areas in this cheat sheet that you do not understand or are not familiar with, maybe because you're not as accustomed to reviewing Google Ads campaigns, maybe you're a specialist, but perhaps there are some areas you're still learning about, or you're managing your own account, or you're taking over management of your account from a previous manager. If there are any areas that you're not familiar with, feel free to mention that in the comments section, and I will try to make sure that I set up a video to cover that specific section, and I'll put that in this sheet. So my intention with this sheet is to build it out and add more content into the sheet, more videos, in order to help understand each and every aspect of an account that's being audited. And then that's going to help to save advertisers a lot of money if they're managing their account. Because I do a lot of audits for a lot of different clients, and I notice the same errors coming up over and over again. So I hope that this video and this tool, this cheat sheet in the description of this video, so you can find it there. You can then open the sheet, and if you're viewing it within your own Google account, you can copy and then begin to edit your own version of the sheet yourself, and once you're done. So you can use it that way, or you can just view the sheet and then use it as a reminder when you are going ahead and managing your own account or one of your clients' accounts. So again, feel free to leave a comment if there's any areas you want more information about. Additionally, if you have an account that you would like to have reviewed by myself or another specialist from my agency, then feel free to email me at contact@optimizelab.com. I'd be more than happy to assist if there's an opportunity to improve the performance of your account. And thank you for watching, and thanks for watching.